Hello everyone, and welcome to Marty's Party, the virtual celebration of life for my dad, Marty Giovannini. Before we begin, I would like to thank everyone who submitted photo, video, and audio of my dad as well as of themselves in order to make this video possible. It is because of your strength to get on camera and speak to us all that we can celebrate together while apart. Thank you. Now, as much as I would like to give an extensive invocation, I will pass the mic over to the man himself.
I had, as traditionally I do, a long speech prepared, but I thought, nah, keep it short tonight.
What?
But then I thought how much Larry really likes the long toast. So, in honor of Larry, I went ahead and made it a little bit longer.
Oh, wait.
So, everybody, grab a drink.
That's good.
Here's the toast. To family.
Here.
The younger generation, make sure you carry on this tradition.
You listening, Dante?
And that's it.
Cheers!
Cheers!
Woo!
There is a God. And he's Italian. Give the next generation, be sure to pass on the traditions around family gatherings that you've been involved with for years. So here's blessings for those that have been with our family and are gone. Those that are here with us now, especially the newborns and the young ones.
Oh, the newborns.
And for those that couldn't make it here today. Appreciate family, appreciate everything that we have, because there are so many people that don't have family or
Circulation?
Yeah. Family, polite way of saying, or possessions. And never forget our blessings, as Grandma would say. So, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas! Ho!
Oh!
Ho! 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 Ho!
Happy day 5 of Hanukkah.
Those who wear white socks with sandals.
We salute you. They're comfortable. Okay, thanks. Enjoy. Here's to family. Cheers. And we cherish it forever.
4!
As we begin and progress through the tributes, you will notice that Marty loves poetry. I will start off our tributes with one of my favorites that he published in his book, Primal Echoes, a melodic cacophony of thoughts. We converse, yet our conversation is not limited by words. The thoughts of our beings float on the wind of our psyches and land within the feelings of our every heartbeat. Gently, our souls unite and fuse. Such is the spirit of our conversation. We are two, yet we are one. How sublime to be separate together.
Hi, this is Renee and Jim from Florida, celebrating the life of Martin Giovannini, our brother, our friend, our muse.
And poet and teacher and a lover of flowers. We used to share poems, and this is for Marty. As it rolls, focus the lens ever so closely to a crystal clear perfection. Let the aroma of the roses fill the frame full of memories and moments of every day from a long and mystic journey. So now, dear poet, it's time to lay.
As butterflies and yellow flowers just flew over us, hold each other tight, love each other, and have peace.
Thanks for being in our life, Marty.
In honor of Marty, I'm going to share some words that he wrote for his Aunt Carol, my grandmother, when she passed in 2002. You help create us, mold us, blow life into us. You wrapped us with care to be gifts for others, as you were to us. You taught us to sing the song of life and to dance the dance of death and not be fearful of either. Your house may be no more, but your home is always in our hearts. Let us now rise in the home of our hearts, warmed by the ember of our memories, and dance together. Cheers.
Next up, we are going to take a trip back through Marty's life with memories from some of his longest friends and family. If you can, take yourself back to that house on Moreland Avenue.
Okay, so I'm Caroline. I'm Marty's little sister, and I was lucky enough to be his little sister for 62 years. And I just want to say that the things that Marty was always trying to teach me were, the importance of family and love and kindness, and that, in his way, in his voice, that everything is going to be okay. There's a way to work on anything. And, when I was younger, that was probably harder for him to get across to me, but over the years, I came to depend on him for all that. And so I'm going to miss him terribly, and I'm just so fortunate that I saved his last voicemail to me that I don't even know what the subject was, but it was your typical Marty telling me, "Hey, Susie," because that's what he called me, or Marisa. She'll understand that part. He just, I don't even know what the subject was, but it was a long message about we can get through this and we'll work together. And so obviously I'm using that for all different kinds of things that come up, and I just listen to it, and his voice is there, and I'll always have his voice of reason that I grew up with, and I'm so grateful I have that because I'm going to need it.
Hi, my name is John Anderson, and I grew up in the late 60s with Ray and Jimmy and Pam and Peggy and Marty. And I have to say that an important part of my life, and that would have been probably, we go back ways, 1967, 1968. Larry Metz was there. And we used to just hang out on Moreland Avenue and just party all day long and play music forever. I used to laugh. Sometimes we would just play the same song forever. My condolences and my love to the entire family, and Kathy and Bill. I never could figure out how in the world those two put up with us all that time. We'd just be rocking in that house like crazy. But anyway, here's just a little something that kind of what you would have heard us playing all those years. Love to everyone. Bye.
Hi, I'm Peggy Chambers Peck. I have a neurologic vocal cord disorder that makes it difficult for me to speak, but speak I will from Marty. He has been my bestie since we were 13. We met at Crook Junior High School in 7th grade. He was the most handsome young man. All the girls had a big crush on him. He was my first love, and later my brother, when my dad, Bill Chambers, married his mom, Kathy. Through all the ups and downs of almost 60 years, he has been my confidant and my friend. He's been especially attentive this year that my husband passed away, and helping me to navigate my grief during this time of quarantine and COVID. Marty and I spent so much time at Crook and also at Montgomery High School at dances. In junior high, Marty reminded me recently that we were always the first ones on the dance floor to get out there. and start the dances so that the other people would feel brave enough to get out there and dance too. He was always thinking of others, even back then. One day when we were 16, Marty wanted to take me out to our favorite romantic Italian restaurant in Courthouse Square in Santa Rosa. We had no money, so he called his uncle who had vineyards. And we went out and picked grapes all day long until we had enough money to go to that restaurant that night. Anyway, it was fun. Some of the happiest memories for myself and so many others was being teenagers at Marty's house on Moreland Avenue in the 60s. Jimmy and Ray and Marty and so many others would play music all day long, every day. The house was full of teenagers. We always wondered how Kathy put up with it, but I think she was having a good time too. Something you will hear a lot from people who loved Marty is how kind he was. I'll remember his kindness too, but also how funny, talented, romantic, and caring he was all the years of his life. How he would jump in his car and drive from Oregon to Santa Rosa to take care of the folks. Or how he would do the same thing for me to help me with my husband's memorial on San Francisco Bay this year. He was always there for anyone who needed him. Family was always important to him. He was so proud of Alex and Marisa. We had a discussion a couple of days before he passed away about the kids and also my Jessica, and how proud we were of them and how great it was that they turned out so great. He loved his siblings with all his heart. He called our folks every day. Even though Marty is gone, I'll carry his love and beautiful memories with me all the days of my life. Thank you, Marty. Love you.
Hi, I'm Anna Magnani Flaherty, and Marty was a very dear friend of mine. We met in 1975 and we remained friends still. He's going to be missed. He was a wonderful person and I loved him very much. My husband and I send our condolences to all the family and everyone who knew him. He will definitely be a soul that will stay with us forever. Be well, Marty. See you sometime soon. Bye.
I'm Linda Richardson, and it's an honor to be able to give tribute to such a very special person. The heavens have gained a new angel, but in the expense of us losing one down here. Of course, he's such a caring and loving man. I'm sure I just don't have to tell you that because we all knew that, right? He lived only a few miles from me, and it seemed like we always seen each other at special events, usually in California. But if I ever needed him, he was always there for me, and I knew that he would be. He was the ambassador to the California family. She would share their love and support through him. And they would always, have him be up there and, let me know what's going on. When my husband died a year or so ago, he came over one afternoon and he had such a soft tone, soft spoken. And that gave me peace. And he was, his wisdom gave me hope, and his teddy bear hugs would give me courage. I'm just so grateful and so blessed to, have that in my life. I'm going to miss him terribly, but I know that he has got so much love surrounding him where he is now, and he's reunited with his brothers, and the band is back in action. So, I just want to say, Marty, rest in peace, and I love you to the heavens and back.
This is Ron and Jackie, and we are close friends for more than 45 years because we knew Marty before we even got married.
Goes back to 1978. So, history with Marty. Met Marty down at the dependent unit. We all worked for the Sonoma County Probation Department together.
That was a place for neglected and abused children.
Several of us had worked at the juvenile hall, and then later on we worked together at the Valley of the Moon Children's Home with kids who were wards of the court, all ages, infants to age 18. We had a good time. We enjoyed working with the kids. We worked well as a team. Marty was the first one to get his master's in counseling, followed by me and Anna and Nancy Scott. So we all got masters eventually. So we were all in the therapeutic milieu and enjoyed working together with the kids. But we also became good friends and had a lot of fun after work. It was a lot of fun.
Knew one another's kids, were in one another's weddings. We were fortunate to be close friends with Kathy and Marty, and Ron performed their wedding in Calistoga, and we helped to set it up there, and just all of our tight friends were part of that. And before they decided to move to Oregon, and so yeah, this is kind of the life in Sonoma County. And what I remember about Marty is that I just really appreciate his kindness and soft heart, and always a positive outlook, and just an even smoothness of energy in terms of no matter what was going on, he was always there for you and present with his nice big deep dark eyes and his soft voice, and always looking at the positive and the many solutions there are to life instead of being downcast. And that was really rewarding as well for all of the kids at the juvenile hall as well as the dependent home. And on to their life and up into Oregon, where he went to help open the adoption, make it easier for parents to adopt babies, and continue working in the field with his counseling background.
And Marty was a Renaissance man. He did it all. You know, he was educated, he was bright, he was compassionate, he was one of the walking angels on the planet. He was a crackerjack professional photographer. He was a good musician. He dabbled in poetry a bit, as I recall, but mostly I remember his very bad puns. And he loved his puns, and if people groaned very loudly, he would laugh even louder. And his laughter was always, not infectious, but his laughter was always enjoyable. His laughter was always confirming. And on the one hand, his laughter said sweet things about who he was addressing, but also his laughter always had a little bit of mischievousness to it, so which then made it fun. Marty, you'll be missed. You're one of the angels on earth. We sure hate to lose the good ones. And
Yeah, we've known you for so long, and we've spent great times with you. Even Marisa, when she was a baby, Marisa's the same age as our first son, Seth, and we have great pictures with them. And then it was wonderful to see that Alex came along as a wonderful surprise to them. And he's led such a beautiful life for both of you. You two kids are wonderful human beings, and I can see so much of Kathy and you, Marty, in both of you. And you have very kind hearts like both of them, and are very good with people. So I know you will go far, and I'm sure you miss him too.
so all of our love to you. Love you all. Take care.
Hi, Alex. My name's Nancy. I met your dad in 1974 when we were both staff at Valley of the Moon Children's Home. We were staff there in our 20s, so we were young and energetic, and of course the kids loved your dad. We had a lot of fun with the other staff and with the kids. And during that time, we were also sweethearts for a while, and that was great fun. We wine tasted in the Napa Valley. He loved Heights Cellar Cabernet, which is probably $65 a bottle now. And we camped up in Ashland and went to the plays, and we went to the beach and stayed out in Mendocino when it was a funky little town and not the upscale that it is now. So we did lots of fun stuff. He was accepted as a student at Sonoma State in the counseling program during that time, and encouraged me to also apply if I was interested, which I was, so I did the next year. And he had been selected to be on the admissions committee because they really valued his perspective and his skill with counseling. So during the admissions time when I was applying, the director of admissions asked him if there was anybody that was applying that he could just make a personal recommendation about. And he did for me. And I really believe to this day that I got into that program because he was so highly regarded. And so I've enjoyed a wonderful career as a marriage and family therapist for 35 years because of his recommendation, I'm sure, to get in. And in terms of your dad's beliefs on life and death, and really, we were in our 20s when we talked about it. He was always a student of the mystical world. He read a lot and talked to your grandmother a lot. They talked a lot about Edgar Cayce, and he and I did too. And I know Marty never really felt like he was afraid of death, but rather he saw it as part of the spectrum of living. And that when we pass over, like his brothers did, way before their time, or so we say, there's not much difference between that side of the veil and this side of the veil. One of the things that stands out so much for me about him that I always felt was remarkable was how current he stayed with people in his life and people he obviously cared about. And I think that really helps people not have regrets at the end of their life. And I think that was a very buoyant part of him that I would see when we would get together after all these years. And if I would come to him in a dream in the last 10 or 15 years, he would call me and say, you came to me in a dream. Are you doing okay? What's going on? And we would just talk for a bit. And, you know, I can still hear his wonderful laughter. And I know he's not far.
My remembrance of Marty is that he was always a friendly and kind and warm presence whenever he was in meetings and just seeing him around campus. He always had a smile on his face, and I'm going to miss seeing him on campus. I just want to send my condolences to his family and friends.
I'm Cynthia, and we often were in the same prep room together, Building 5, Room 105, and so we'd cross paths, and we didn't know each other really well, but he always had just stopped and chatted, you know, about anything, and he had a great smile and a kind heart, and so I too will miss him, and I wish I knew his work better. He often talked about photography, and so my condolences as well to his family and friends.
I'm Deanne, and I've been a colleague of Marty's for many years. And the things I remember particularly about Marty was how kind he was and how supportive he was. And for example, when I was chair after meetings, he would send me emails saying, "You did a good job at the meeting." And I will also always remember that his students were utterly, utterly devoted to him. And that speaks droves about what a kind person he was and what an excellent teacher he was.
My name is Heidi, and I started teaching at the college 4 years ago and got to know Marty during this time. And he was one of the kindest, gentlest spirits I ever have met. He brought to every of our department meetings this kind, loving, gentle male energy. I don't know how else to put it. Fatherly, loving, and problem solving, really caring. I'm getting weepy. I loved him. He was a good man, and we will miss him so much.
My name is Karen, and I taught ceramics next door to his photography studio, or the photography studio. And every day that I came in, he was always waving through the glass with a big smile on his face, and I truly miss that moment of knowing when I walked in the door that his presence was there and a sweet smile on his face. A very kind person. So my condolences to the family and friends also.
My name is Kay, and I've known Marty, or I knew Marty for years and years. And, you know, like everybody, his smile brightened up the room, brightened up the quad when you saw it across the quad. His eyes twinkled, and just a lovely, wonderful, caring person. And when he hugged you, it was a hug. It wasn't like that, like, hey, it was like a hug. And you could tell he really meant that. We also went way back because we found out that we went to the same undergraduate college. And so we used to always reminisce and have our little compadre meetings about Sonoma State. And so I will miss him deeply. I will miss his smile and his, just that sort of warmth that he gave. So I'm sending great love for all of his family.
I'm Keith. I worked with Marty for a few years, and as everyone's saying, Marty's warmth and kindness are just remarkable. What I'll miss most in some ways is he would just stop in to see me in my office, just to talk to me, just to say hi, just to show that warmth and that genuineness. He didn't need anything, he didn't want anything. He just wanted to connect with me as a person, and I'll really miss that warmth and that care that he had. And my condolences to his friends and family.
I'm Laura, and I will miss Marty so much. He became part of the art area I don't know how many years ago when we kind of took the photography darkroom over from VC. We made our own darkroom in our area. And one of the things I remember about Marty is how excited he was when we shifted from having meetings on campus to the brew pub. He loved that we met in a brew pub and he could have a beer. I agree with everything everyone else said, though. Kindness, sweet, genuine students. He loved our students. We'll miss him.
My name is Peter, and I had the pleasure of meeting Marty 13 years ago when I started in the visual communications program, where he was teaching darkroom photography for us. And my office was actually facing where he would often teach his students. And so he would meet with the students outside the class, outside of the darkroom, and critique them. And I just saw so many times how he was encouraging, giving so much positive feedback, and just being this amazing presence in these students' lives. And I saw how they reacted to him. They really appreciated his thoughtful critiques, but also just the joy of photography and the joy of living that he brought to those students. So I'm glad that he was able to continue teaching in the art program. I also had the pleasure of seeing Marty out in Salem so many times, whether it was coffee shops or jazz, and he loved being out in the town, and it was fun to run into him as well. So he will be deeply missed.
I've knew Marty for 20 years and was able to share a desk and cubicle space with him for a dozen. We go way back, and when visual communications had the darkroom in our space, Marty and I worked very closely together, and I will not forget the many long-winded, kind conversations that we had about life, the universe, everything. He was so dedicated to his students, so passionate about their learning opportunity, and the embodiment of the spirit of community college was really shining through Marty brightly. He was a role model, and someone else mentioned fatherly. I don't have a lot of male role models in my life that are fatherly like that, and he was one of the few. And so I took as much as I could from Marty in terms of life lessons. And it was so much more than photography that he was giving to people. And I just think that was a remarkable skill that he was able to bring to this place and share with all of us. Even after Marty stopped working with VC directly with his class, we still supported his flyers for his darkroom classes down in the art space in Building 5. I'd get lunch with him once a term, and we'd go get pho at Vietnamese places or Thai food. So he was a connoisseur of fine food and drink, and I'll miss that part of him too. He was just such a swell guy and such an integral part of this community college. He did so much for so many. He will be missed.
Well, I mean, I only met him a few times, but when I did, he was very kind and very generous with his comments. And so, a toast.
To Marty.
To Marty.
Marty.
Thank you, Marty.
Thank you.
To my friend Marty, always much more than a colleague, a great friend. I'll remember you forever. Cheers.
Marty, I'm going to miss you a lot. You were a beautiful, calming presence in my life. I love all the Thanksgivings that we had together, all of your blessings and toasts. I loved the 3 summers that I spent living at your house with Kathy and Marisa and Alex when they were little. When I was going to graduate school at Western Oregon University, I loved drinking wine with you in those evenings. I appreciated your hospitality when I took my kids to summer camp, and I spent the night at your house before I picked them up in the mornings. You always made me great coffee and breakfasts. I love your calm and gentle spirit, I'm going to miss knowing that you're in the world. I love you.
My memory of Marty is from my 30th birthday. No one was around to celebrate it with me, and even my parents were out of town and weren't able to call. It was by the afternoon, and after work and school, I was feeling pretty low. I hear a knock at the door, and I open it to find Marty with a smile and a bouquet of flowers for me. And he said, "Happy birthday." So he remembered out of all the people in my life. It just went to show how concerned and caring he was for everyone in his life. He was wonderful.
Well, this is Jeff, and this is for Marty. And Marty, we're sure going to miss you. Always had nothing but good things to say about you. I don't think I ever got mad at you, not even once. And I know everybody was shocked when you passed away. I sure was. And if there is a heaven, I hope to God that we all meet up again and can smile and say, "Wasn't Earth a trip?" Well, I love you, Marty, and the whole family. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Marty Giovannini, I appreciate you being on my life's journey. I met Marty just before Marisa was born. He was working with Open Adoption. Marty did the photos for my daughter's wedding, which was at Mission Mill, and he did a wonderful job. He's a great photographer. I also took a class from him at Chemeketa Community College in film photography. He was a great help. He's a really good teacher, and his students loved him. He enriched the class by bringing in quotes from different photographers, like Ansel Adams, and it was a rich, rich class. I know that he was a really good father. I watched him father Marisa and Alex, and I know that he was really there for them. He was a good friend, and he was willing to talk about anything that I wanted to talk about, whether that was photography or just anything in life, and I will miss him.
I'm Richard Johnson in Salem, Oregon. The thing I remember about Marty was his smile. I never saw him without one. It was a full body smile, a twinkle in the eye kind of smile. Sometimes a mischievous smile, just before a pun kind of smile. Like he got you, he came up with a pun and he was smiling even before he said it. He had a happy smile. I saw that one over a mushroom and black olive and red wine spaghetti. I believe it made him happy when he made other people happy. The smile, the puns, the spaghetti, this mischievousness, for me that was Marty, and I miss him. And I'll miss the smiles, the puns, and the spaghetti, and I'll always remember them. Oh, and the bear hugs. I mean, it's not a pun. It was these big, gropey bear hug coming at you. He was just a good guy. I'm gonna miss him.
Okay, guys. I just want to let you know how much Marty meant to us. We moved into Noon Avenue and met Marty and your mom and Marisa. And then later Alex came along, and he was a joy, just a miracle, a big surprise to everybody. And Marty was in the middle of everything, making his pasta, offering a glass of red wine and sage advice, changing people's lives with Open Adoption, taking pictures at the Oregon Spellers competition in the summertime at the fairgrounds, and generally being there for this single mom with 2 kids who's trying to make it and living at the end of the cul-de-sac. Made a difference in our lives for the better. So glad I got to know him.
Good morning. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? Oh, how I wish Marty was still my neighbor. Hi, I'm Liz, one of Marty's neighbors. I've known Marty for over 30 years now, and I really didn't get to know him that well, but I kind of knew him the last few years. And that I would, he had me collect his mail, check his house, feed the cat at that time, and keep an eye on everything around here. Yeah, it's hard work, you know. But no, Marty and I, we'd pass in the street, we'd wave. Occasionally, we'd stop at, like, these mailboxes right here, get caught up on how it's going, what's happening. Not long, just a few minutes. But I did have a very good long talk with Marty before he left. He gave me some advice. I'm going to have to stick to it, you know. And I know Marty said, I can't tell you what to do, but I can advise you. And he gave me some really good advice. Oh, over this past time, you know, we've shared cookies, and Christmas time we'd exchange cookies. He was always there. He was a fun guy. He was quiet as far as I was concerned, but he was always there for the kids, my grandkids and their fundraisers, and he'd always pitch in. And I'm glad I really got to kind of know Marty. I don't know Marty the way I should have known Marty as a neighbor over all these years, but you know what? I'm gonna miss you, Marty. Marty, you're going to be missed by me and all the people, all the friends that you've encountered throughout your life. I wish you could still be my neighbor. You're going to be missed, but never forgotten. Just remember.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Would you be my neighbor?
Would you, could you?
Won't you be my neighbor?
Hi, I'm Amy Ryan Corser. I was blessed to know Marty for almost 40 years. He was truly one of my heroes, and when I describe Marty, he is honestly one of the best humans I've ever met. He was my saving grace at 13, and he never missed a wedding or a special event, and as you know, he is truly a wonderful person, and I will miss him greatly, as I know all of you will too. Thank you for letting me share part of your day and to post this regarding my special memories. I will miss him deeply, as I know all of you will. Thank you.
Hello, my name's John Eder. My connection with Marty began by way of Marty and Kathy adopting Marisa through my wife's Jean's Open Adoption and Family Services Agency. A personal relationship began to develop and was strengthened as Marty became associated with the agency in approximately 1988. There was further connection in the 1990s after Jean founded the Teamwork for Children agency, wherein contested custody and adoption cases were mediated as opposed to being resolved in expensive court cases. Marty, a very skilled mediator, joined Jean in training sessions around the country as this mediation process was advanced. On one occasion, when an illness kept Jean from the training session, Jean's daughter, Carrie Lake, also working for the agency, stepped in to do the training with Marty. A close family connection grew out of this working relationship. We visited each other's homes, spent a New Year's Eve together in a resort, and shared in other activities. In recent years, up until the present, I would frequently get together with Marty for a happy hour light meal in Salem as I traveled between Portland and Eugene. Marty was such an easy person with whom to connect. If he had a problem with someone or something, he always managed to talk about the situation without showing any anger. He was super tactful. Only a year ago, he was employed by the state to mediate ongoing relationships between my granddaughter Callie me and Callie's Aunt Carrie as part of Callie's adoption. It was a real honor to have him serve the family professionally. Like many others, I expected to share many more times together. It's a tragedy for all of us that Marty's life got cut short. Thinking of him as a great role model worth emulating, my life is better for having known him. He was an easy person to love. Thank you, Marty, for some great memories.
Hi, it's Kathy Baldwin here. I'm sorry we're having to meet like this. I can't even imagine my life without Marty in it. It just wouldn't have been my life. I can't conceive of it. We have 2 beautiful children together, Marisa and Alex. We spent 23 years together, and in the last 20 years we have built a beautiful friendship and an alternative family situation. We supported each other in many ways, went on trips together, did things for each other. I have a poem that I wrote for my future self, and I'm going to give it to Marty. When twilight spreads her luminous hues and absorbs my light into hers, and my sharp sparks sigh with a satisfied relief and melt into smooth warm waves, and as a prelude, what looms large today recedes into nothingness, and the faces of constant love stitch themselves into my shroud, and gratitude is the thread, and what remains is you, and you, and you, and you, and you, and you, and I'm sending my love and support to all of you who had the good fortune to know Marty. For my 69th birthday, Marisa, Alex, Cody, and Marty sent me a box with the title 69 Reasons We Love You. And one of the ones that Marty wrote was, "You helped me appreciate music." Before Marisa and Alex were our strongest bond, music bonded us together. We went to a lot of concerts like Genesis and Supertramp and Bob Dylan and Peter Gabriel. God, that was amazing. We loved music together.
This is the story about what Marty and also Kathy gave my mother, Jane Weatherby. Jane was one of Marisa and Alex's many, many grandmothers. She lived on the opposite side of the country her whole life in Pennsylvania. My sister Mary is Marisa's birth mother, and Marty and Kathy adopted Marisa at her birth. But what I came to realize was they adopted more than Marisa. First, they adopted my sister, and then they adopted Marisa. And then they adopted Richard, and then they adopted Greta, and they adopted my mother. I was young at the time, and it took me a long time to sort of follow what was happening and track what was really going on with these adoptions. My mother was really concerned when Marisa was adopted that she wouldn't have a relationship with her, but she had never met Marty before. And I had never met Marty before. And so my mother went to see Marisa, and this is a photograph of them together. I think this is their first meeting. It's taken by Marty. And over the years, my mother would just be talking so much about Marty. Marty this and Marty that. And my mom didn't really have an easy time thinking that men were great a lot of the times. She was very cautious about men. But she was not cautious about Marty, and I assume that's probably because Marty just gave her a whole lot of hugs. And she couldn't wiggle out of a hug with Marty because he would just envelop you in them and hang on. And He didn't need to say much. He just gave you hugs. And that was really about all my mom needed, I believe, and some good conversation and laughs in between. So over the years, my mom and Marisa became really close. And that's what Marty gave them. That's what Marty gave my mother. And my mom passed on 2 years to the day before Marty did. Maybe it's not full of meaning, and maybe it is full of meaning. But I think they might be hugging. And so many people believe that if you've passed on and you're in the spiritual world, that's forever. And then if mom's being hugged by Marty, she's in a bear hug forever. And I think they're just hugging on. And, hanging out in clouds and hanging out in the trees and hanging out all around us. And he's just got his arms around her, and they're laughing, and that's what's going on now. I moved to California in my early 20s, and I was the only person in my family who lived in California. And eventually, all of my friends in the area became my family, and I would always do all the holidays and absolutely everything with friends. And then over the years, after Marisa was older, and I realized that Marty and Kathy had adopted our family, and that their concept of family was huge. Their concept was large, and it was everybody, and it didn't matter exactly what that relationship was. At different times, I would try to describe who was Marty, and sometimes I'd just refer to him as my friend, or as a cousin, or as Marisa's father, or as my brother-in-law, or as the bear hugger. I described him all sorts of ways. But this photograph I love, and I used to have this hanging up for a while in my house in Petaluma because they would come down and visit in Santa Rosa. And this is a picture of family and friends.
Hi Marty, it's Mary, Marisa's birth mother here, and this is one of the many photographs that you took of us over the years. This happens to be my favorite one, and one that you had recently given me another copy of. I always loved this because of the way you captured us with our little toes doing the same kind of things in our arms. You just had that ability. Plus, most photographs of me, I was either squinting and looking very horrible faces, or my eyes were popped wide open. But you had the ability to catch me at a moment that always worked, and I really want to appreciate you for that. There's many things that I really loved about you, including your appreciation of wine. Before you, the only thing that I would drink was Lambrusco, even though I had worked in places where there was good wine, but it didn't really appeal to me. But thanks to you, I learned to drink things like this. And you had this mannerism about you where you never lectured or talked about why this was so great or anything like that. All you did was pour a glass and let me experience it for myself. Thank you so much. That was a really wonderful way of teaching. But of course, you had that wonderful mannerism and ability to capture people's hearts. When I was thinking of pictures, I wanted to let you know that I actually got a picture that is for you. And here it is. Let me see if we can catch that. There it is. It's a Celtic knot. Hey, Mr. Punny. It's one of the things I never did learn to appreciate about you, your punny sense of humor. But there are many great things in 36 years of knowing you that I will miss about you. I want to share one of my memories of you, which was the time that you and I were chaperoning Marisa and her schoolmates at an overnight at her small private school. And the two of us were upstairs with the older kids, and everyone had been sent to bed. Everything had been done, and we'd been sent to bed. And you and I continued to play with the kids and have lots of fun with them. And then pretty soon, Susie, the head of the school, came up and she had to discipline us. because we were causing the whole school to stay awake. So I've always loved that memory of the fact that both you and I love to play with kids, and that was really great.
Last winter, Marty shared with me that when Alex was born, he was able to catch Alex, and that it was one of the most special experiences of his life, and he thinks it's an opportunity that every man should get to have in their lifetime. That is a really special quote to me, and one that will definitely stick with me. And I, just from Marty and from Marty's family, I really have also learned that everyone is your family, and Marty really exemplifies and embodies that and is committed to it, and that has taught me so much and really is something that I hope to carry with me to really let your ego fall away and be family with the people who are important and the people who you love, and to love them a lot and hug them and be committed to making time for them in your life, and that's worth it and important. Yeah, so those are things that Marty has really taught me, and that I'm really grateful to have him in my life. Thank you. I love you.
I'm Amy Crook, Jeff Crook's sister. Marty was a huge part of my memories of the last 40 years. He married my husband and I, Gordon, almost 40 years ago. He did a beautiful job. The marriage, well, next chapter. I loved the memories of Marty and Kathy and Jeff and Pam and Gordon and I doing an adventure through Skagway, Alaska, through the Yukon, back down into Haines when I was living in Alaska. It was a fabulous adventure. We celebrated Maurice's second birthday in a very funky little cabin in the Yukon, full of stories and wildlife and beauty. Marty was always one of the best parts of my visits to Oregon. The carnations, the big, heartfelt hugs, feeling his presence and really knowing that he cared to hear about what your life was like. And, just the warmth, the humor. Marty was the one that called me and told me when Jeff died. Nobody else could have delivered news as compassionately and humanely as he did. He helped me through some of the darkest times during Jeff's time in the hospital, and then the horrible decision and the time after that. He was a wonderful rock during our Ashes to Lakes trip when we spread Jeff's ashes in some of his favorite fishing places and beautiful spots that he and Pam had vacationed in for decades. I will forever cherish his puns and just big presence. He was one of my favorite humans I've ever known. What is remembered lives, and I am richer for having known him.
Good morning, friends and family of Marty. My name is Jean Mayer. I've been friends with Marty for, 10 years. We first met when he came to get acupuncture with me, and we soon found that the treatment room was way too small for the conversations and became fast and furious friends. I'm in my goat yard at the moment because Marty loved my goats. And when he would come, he's turning me in circles, when he would come to visit me, a big part of it was to come and say hi to the goats and the chickens and the dogs. And after several trips to the truck to unload the treats for goats and chickens and dogs, and of course, all the good stuff that Marty always brought everybody, which was flowers and food and good wine and good conversation. Hey, Finny, don't chew my hair. So, Marty was a jewel. He was one of my favorite people in the world, and as you all know, loved us so much. So that's a pretty big loss. Hey, Finny, don't bang me. Finn, he bangs people. Stop it. I've heard so much about all of you over the years, and you know the one thing about Marty is that he let you know that he loved you, so we all have that. So sweet to have. Hi, Uma. This was Marty's other friend, Uma. Hi, Uma. Say hi. Here's Uma. I'm so sad that I can't be there to be in your presence and share stories. There's so many stories. One time Marty came to visit and we went for a big hike in the woods on my property, and my other big Pyrenees dog, who's not in the photo right now, treed a cougar. Marty was so happy. The cougar was only about 15 feet up the tree, which is reach up and touch it height, and it was a great story for him, and he wasn't afraid at all. It was pretty precious to see how he just instantly was charmed and thrilled to be in the presence of such a magnificent being as he was. Marty was a bodhisattva. Didn't have to be here. Came to take care of us all. So lots of love, big hugs. I'll always miss him. He's always in my heart.
Marty, you were one of the kindest people I have ever met in my whole life, and I am so grateful to have crossed paths with you, and I'm just heartbroken to hear that you are gone, and I wish you and your family nothing but peace and love at this time, and I'm just so happy to have known you, and I feel so lucky. Bye, Marty.
Hi, my name is Katie, and I just wanted to take a few moments to talk about the last time that I had seen Marty. I was so lucky enough to have seen Marty 4 days before he had passed. Prior to that, I hadn't seen him since February because of COVID. So you can imagine my excitement when I got a text from him in September asking if we could go get dinner. We decided to go to McMinian's, and there I was greeted with the biggest smile and the warmest hug in the world, as I always did by Marty. In that time, we shared corn dog nuggets and cider and nothing but laughter. Life finally felt normal for once during these weird times that we're all living in. Marty had this way of making us slow down and appreciate life as it is. It didn't matter what was going on around us. And I didn't know how much I needed that until I saw him. Marty gifted me a bouquet of carnations. He always had some sort of bouquet for me when we went and got dinner. And he gifted me with a crystal that was from his mother. And at that time, I was already overcame with emotion for this sweet gift. but I didn't realize how impactful it would be after I saw him. I have sat here trying to film this video probably over 40 times, and every time I'm overcome by emotion because he had such an impact in my life. I'm so grateful to have met Marty and to have had those moments with him before he had died. In the time that I have known Marty, he has shown me nothing but acceptance and love. And that is something that I want to continue in my life. I want to show everyone I meet love and acceptance and the joy for life as he did. I will continue to honor him through photography, and I will also be honoring him through dad jokes, as you all know he loved to make. I am so grateful to have seen him one last time, and I will continue to cherish all the moments and memories that I had prior, as I'm sure all of you will. Thank you, Marty, and may you rest in peace.
My name is Julia Westbrook, and I grew up knowing Marty and his family because we lived on the same street. And he was always warm and welcoming and able to be that person to listen to, even as a child, willing to listen and talk some things through together. He was always the first person that I went to about photography and was the photographer for my senior pictures and later my wedding. Growing up, we didn't have the kind of money to have a professional photographer, and all he asked was that I pay for the film back when we had to have film. And to this day, when I talk to my students and I need to really have a heart-to-heart about what's going on with them, I kind of feel like I'm channeling his warmth and his acceptance and those listening skills that he always had with me, and I always appreciated that so much.
Something I've always admired about Marty is his ability to make any space feel welcoming and safe. I've known him for almost my whole life, and I can't think of a time where he didn't welcome me into his home with open arms. Whether it was playing video games for hours, or dropping by for impromptu meals, or spending the night on the couch or on the floor of Alex's room, Marty always made me feel like I was more than a neighbor or just his son's friend. I was practically part of the family, and I can't express how much that atmosphere of safety meant to me growing up. He took my and Steve's wedding photos, and he made us feel completely at ease on what was an incredibly happy but very stressful day. He even signed our marriage license and certificate when it turned out he was the only one there who was ordained. To be honest, we didn't really know what we were doing, and that was scary, but he walked us through it like the pro that he was and made everything feel as smooth as silk. Whenever I look at our wedding photos, I think of him and what an amazing gift he gave us, capturing one of the happiest days of our lives and helping us get married to boot. As a photographer and instructor, he extended that feeling of safety to the creative process as well. He taught me photography and was an excellent teacher, always quick with his praise and thoughtful with his feedback, and always encouraging of his students' artistic eyes. His talent was so formidable, but he never let that intimidate anyone. Instead, he created a space that enabled us to take risks with our art and find new ways to look at the world, ways that were more daring, more interesting, and more compassionate. The awesome generosity of Marty's spirit inspires me to this day, and I'm so grateful to have known him.
In addition to photographing many weddings, Marty was also a very seasoned officiant.
had the great fortune to meet Marty through his daughter Marisa, who was a dear college friend of mine, and feel so lucky that I had the chance to meet him and interact with him over the years, because I have to say that he came to represent to me what a great and involved and present father looked like. I watched him show up for Marisa again and again. I watched him show up for my own events, and I watched him show up for my daughter's birthdays, and I was so grateful to have had that experience, because he showed me what it looks like to show up as a father, and also what it looks like to be truly present, not just there in person, but actually engaging and listening and really celebrating with everyone who was there. So I will be forever grateful for that and thankful.
Marty, you've brought so much joy to my family and given us the ability to cherish very special memories of all the years and fun moments I spent with you, Marisa, our friends, and our families. I often think about Marisa's wedding and the beautiful speech you gave that night. Cheers to you, Marty.
I'm Cody, I'm Marty's son-in-law, and his puns always gave me a good laugh, and I was always very impressed with how quick-witted he was when he came up with them. One of my good memories with Marty.
Hey, Marisa here. So every day for the past 6 months, I wake up and I tell Cody I'm gonna go jogging, and then I don't. It's my longest running joke of this year. Come on. You gotta admit that was a good one. So every photography class, Dad started with a punny joke like that. It was either something he made up or something he borrowed from the internet, but he was always stockpiling jokes to start off his class with. And so I borrowed that one from the internet, and the next thing I'm gonna read you was also repurposed from the internet. It's just going to be easier to read other people's words today, because there's no good place to start or stop talking about my dad. You guys would be here for eons, and I'm happy to share it all, but bits and pieces might be better. So for now, it's other people's words. This next thing that I'm going to read is called "You Want a Physicist to Speak at Your Funeral." It was sent to me, and it spoke to me as far as what Dad might actually want someone to say. But I will point out ahead of time that physicist is one of the hardest words to say a bunch of times when you're reading something dense and emotional. So cut me a little bit of slack if it sounds a little cattywampus. So. Also, I did take some liberties with this, so my apologies to the author. You want a physicist, and it begins, right? Okay, you want a physicist to speak at your funeral. You want the physicist to talk to your grieving family about the conservation of energy, so they will understand that your energy has not died. You want the physicist to remind your mother about the first law of thermodynamics, that no energy gets created in the universe and none is destroyed. You want your mother to know that all your energy, every vibration, every BTU of heat, every wave of every particle that was her beloved child remains with her in this world. You want the physicist to tell your father that amid energies of the cosmos, you gave as good as you got. And at one point, you'd hope that he or she would turn to your sisters and tell them that all the photons that ever bounced off your face, all the particles whose paths were interrupted by your smile, by the touch of your hair, hundreds of trillions of particles, have raced off like children, their ways forever changed by you. And may the physicists let your actual children know that all the photons that bounced from you were gathered in the particle detectors that are their eyes, that those photons created within them constellations of electromagnetically charged neurons whose energy will go on forever. And the physicist will remind the congregation of how much all our energy is given off as heat. There may even be a few fanning themselves with their programs, as she says it. And she will tell them that the warmth that flowed through you in life is still here, still part of all that we are, even as we who mourn continue the heat of our own lives. And you'll want the physicist to explain to those who loved you that they need not have faith. Indeed, they should not have faith. Let them know that they can measure, that scientists have measured precisely the conservation of energy and found it accurate, verifiable, and consistent across space and time. You can hope your family will examine the evidence and satisfy themselves that the science is sound and that they'll be comforted to know your energy is still around. According to the law of the conservation of energy, not a bit of you is gone. You're just a little less orderly.
As we close out Marty's sincere, albeit very punny party, I'll share a story of my own. But first, thank you, everyone who participated in this video. Thank you for everyone who watched this video, and everyone who's participated in Marty's life. Without you in my dad's life, he would not have been the man that he was. And I can tell you for certain that he was the best man that I know. To the elders who raised him, thank you for showing him how to care for and love a family. To the younger generation who barely knew him, make sure you carry on the tradition of family gatherings, and being inclusive with how large your understanding of what family is. Now, my story comes from the very last time that I saw my dad's physical body. There have been a lot of themes throughout this video. Kindness, being an angel on earth, and the one that I'm hitting on is his hugs. The very last hug that I gave to my father, he was unable to hug back. And in my head, I heard him say, "While I can no longer hug you back, son, you can hug forward. So please, go on and hug forward. Give Marty's hugs to the rest of the world. Give Marty's love to the rest of the world. And in this way, Marty lives on forever. My dad lives on forever. I love you all very much." Oh, there's one more story I almost forgot to tell you. It's about the time that my dad farted on an elevator. It was wrong. On so many levels.
So, Dad, what was your favorite part about the speeches?
Favorite part about the speeches? Well, you, of course. All of them, every single one of them. Appreciate everybody. So thank you all. Love you.